All right, welcome back. Time to get back out here in the shop and get rocking some more. So, if you guys remember this beautiful King Ranch here, it's back for some more upgrades. And this is the first of 2 rounds for this month or so, trying to get this sucker ready to go. Now, customer loves this thing, absolutely loves the BDS lift that we put on. He did, although, change out the Toyo 37-inch open countries that were on it. He put on some Cooper Discoveries and seems to like those a little bit better for what he does. Plus, they look awesome. So, can't go wrong with either set of tires, but that's the only difference on this thing since you've seen it last. Now, what he did go ahead and buy is the Carli front sway bar and their Endlink package. So that's what it's here for tonight. We're going to throw the Carli sway bar and everything on. We'll pull the old stuff off, obviously, and we'll lay them side by side. I'll show you the differences, what's good, bad, all that kind of stuff. We're going to get it installed and get this thing back to him, and then it'll be back in about 3 or 4 days, and we're going to do some more stuff to it. So, we're hiding from the hail. I don't know if you guys can hear it on the camera here or the video, but it's hailing outside, so we got a pretty full shop. We got this thing in here. I got my dually back over there, so it's a little bit tight quarters, but we'll just make it work. Anyways, let's roll. Oh, let's do it. All right, so it's a little bit easier now that this thing's all picked up with the big lift and the big tires. So this right here is your front sway bar. It's a bar that goes across the front end of the truck here, attaches to the frame up here in the middle, and then it goes all the way back over down the axle and connects back here with the sway bar end link. And what this does is when you turn a corner, you don't want that body roll, you don't want the truck kind of rolling into the corner. So this bar is supposed to keep the truck body flat and let the suspension flex underneath it. So, customer decided he wanted to go with the Carli unit, which is an absolutely beautiful piece, as you'll see here in a minute. So first things first, we got to get the old one off. I'm gonna grab an 18 mil socket. We're gonna grab the bottom of the end links where it connects to the axle itself, and then we can roll this thing up and we can take it all off in one piece. So my plan then is to go ahead and loosen the bolts right here that connect this drop bracket from the lift up to the frame, and we're going to undo that so that this bracket and the stock sway bar all come out as one piece together. Let's get it done. Now that we have the old one off, we're going to review the old one versus the new one. Now, I usually wait until the end to say thank you to a video sponsor. We're going to cut all that stuff. We're going to do it right now. So, this video is a little bit different. I've only done these once or twice in the past, and hopefully I don't have to do them too much more because it really sucks. But I got the news today that a very good buddy of mine passed away, and yeah, it hit me pretty hard. It's been a hard day, and yeah, I don't know what more to say right now. So what I will say is I don't know if you guys can see that right there, whatever that is over there. I swore it looked like a person in the camera here, so that's why I just... Anyways. It's been a long day. Lots of emotions coming through, and yeah. I'm gonna shout this video out to my buddy Tom. I miss you already, and save a spot for me up there, bro. Alright, so I needed a minute to compose myself there, and yeah, we're back at it because, you know, the show can't stop. So, let's go ahead and look at some parts. So as you can see up here on the very top, this bent bar, that's the factory one. You see those little brackets right there, that's the lift bracket from the BDS lift. So you have these little teeny tiny baby end links right here, and we're going to be replacing them with these beautiful units. So this piece is your new end link that's going to go right there where that one is. The bar itself on the Carli is just straight, where this one is one piece bent all the way around like this. So the bar is machined on the end. It has a spline to it, as you can see in there. So that spline goes to this new end. I don't want to say that they're forged. I don't know a ton about the Carli stuff other than it's absolutely wicked. So you get the bar up here, you get those two nice beautiful arms, you get the hardware that connects the arms to pinches down on that spline. And then you get these two brackets here with the polyurethane bushing. So the bushing is going to press into this, the bar is going to go into that bushing, and then this right here is your drop bracket to make all of this good stuff work with a 4 to 5 inch lift, which is what we have on this truck. This is the BDS 4-inch. So now what we're going to do is start assembling the brackets up on the vehicle. Since this is a straight through bar, we will be able to slide it from one way through and then we can pull it back. And that's how we're going to install it. So without further ado, let's get underneath with some parts and get the install going. So now that we got everything removed, you see these two bolts sticking down here. This is the driver's side. We have the same two on the passenger side. What we need to do is get those out of there. So what you do is push up into the frame rail and you could slip them right out like that. So we're going to slip that one up. This one pulls forward like that. And we're going to grab the other side. Next thing here, you got these cool little brackets. And what they do is this is slotted on the back hole. So you're going to slide it up like this and drop it down. So as you can see, I have one bolt, just kind of one thread in the front hole. And the reason I put it in the front one is because what I want to do is Loctite on the back bolt. That's the first one that we need installed. So throw a little dab of Loctite on here, and now I can easily hold that capture nut that we just put in the frame, and I can thread it in. So you're going to thread this in just a couple threads, kind of like I am here. And then you take back this front one out, and now this drop bracket that we're about to install, the back hole is slotted, so you'll be able to slide it over what we just did, and now through this hole here you'll be able to install the front bolt, again with a little bit of Loctite. Once that's done, we're going to tighten this thing up to 44 foot-pounds and move on to the other side. What's next, right? Well, now we got these super awesome, nicely machined billet brackets here, and we had those nice bushings. So this is like a UHMW bushing here that the sway bar is going to go inside where my finger is, and that bracket's going to be on the outside. Now we need to press that into that nice bracket as you see here. So what I do is set the bushing down on the ground. It's got a little lip on it there. I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of hard. So I put that down on the ground, and then I grab my nice soft face hammer here, and I just tap on the opposite side to drive it down on. So what you want to do is make sure that these are mirrored. So this one here, you want this bushing on the outside, so this will be on the outside of the frame. So now when I take the exact same piece like this, I got it like that, so now I want it on this side. So we're going to take that. Like I said, you can kind of start it a little bit with your hand, and then I'm going to set it down here on the ground. We're just going to gently tap it in. It shouldn't take much to get them down there. There you go. Now you can hear the sound change when it bottoms out, which is exactly what we want it to do. So now that outside lip, that was a little larger, is nice and flush on here. And now when we hold them up side by side, we have mirror image where the bushings are on the outside. So now what we want to do is we want to drive that sway bar through the both of these, and then we can go ahead and get our bolts into those two brackets that we just installed. Let's get her done. Now that we have the bushing in that bracket, we need to install the bracket on the bar on both ends, and then we can install the bar up onto the vehicle. Now they do want a little bit of lube on the inside of that bushing, and you could use grease, you could use red and tacky or something like that. What I love using on sway bars is engine assembly lube. So this stuff is super slick, and it kind of sticks in there and, you know, lubricates it for the long term. It's not like a grease where it's just going to kind of go away, you know, after the first couple miles. So this is what I like to use. Now this stuff is absolutely super sticky. It really sucks when you get it all over you. So make sure you grab a glove, or have a whole bunch of rags handy so that you can get it on there, do what you got to do, throw the glove away, and you can move on with your project. You don't get this crap all over everything, because then you'll be cussing for the next couple hours. Now what they want you to do is stand the bar up on end, have the lower end or the side you're not working on down on a piece of wood, lube up that bushing, and you're going to take a mallet and just kind of pop, drive it down so that you have 1 1/4 inches, 1.250 of spline showing on the end, and that's just wide enough for those arms right there, those nice billet arms or machined arms, or it might be a forging, I don't know. Don't quote me on it. I'll put the link in the description below. Go click on the website if you're that interested. I'm sure one of you guys is going to tell me that I'm an idiot, and you're going to put it in the comments anyways. So yeah, maybe look there and you'll figure out what it is. Now you just throw it away and look, no mess. All right, let's drive this sucker on here. So we got our nice bar right here. We got our nice bushing on there. And what I use is a 1 1/4 inch deep socket. And we're just gonna lightly tap it down. So there you go. There's your 1 1/4 inch spline sticking through. Now we gotta flip it over the other way and do the same thing on the other side. Make sure that your brackets dip down on the same end and the bushings are on the outside. If not, you're pulling them all off to do them again. As you can see, we have both of them on here. So now what we're gonna do is go and toss it up under the vehicle. We'll throw a couple bolts in it and we'll start getting the rest of this thing installed, because I can't wait to drive it and see what this thing feels like compared to the stock one. If you can see in the camera there, you got this one side of this bracket that dips off pretty hard up here where my finger is. So those point up toward the front of the vehicle, and then that's gonna let this whole thing sit flat. So what we wanna do is flip this thing over, set it up in place. Again, make sure you Loctite these. It doesn't say in the instructions, but don't be silly, just do the install once. So we're gonna Loctite these little things. We're gonna put them up in there, 51 foot-pounds. Make sure you put a paint marker on there so you can see if they're ever backing out or not. And yeah, once those are installed, we're gonna go get those nice ends put on. Let's do her. So we got these brackets here in, we got the bolts there, torqued to 51 foot-pounds like they want. Now what we're gonna do is try and install the arm. Now, these arms are bent in a certain direction. As you can see here, it's got this big bend to it. You want to make sure that that bend is pointed out. Obviously it says Carli here, so you're going to want to see that, and you're going to want to make sure that that's upright, so if you were standing outside the vehicle looking in, you could read it. Now, the reason that big bend is in there is obviously for clearance to the tire, so you want to be able to turn. Now, this whole entire thing is up on here, so you want to take a tape measure and just measure the exposed splines on each end and make sure it's the same. If it's not the same, you want to take your soft face or your dead blow hammer. You want to adjust it back or forth accordingly. We're within a 1/16 of an inch, so that's as good as we're going to get it. So next thing is you go here and you install the bolt. Make sure that the bolt is pointed down. If it's pointed up, the excess thread sticking out of the nut will hit the frame. You're going to have a whole bunch of noise and you're just not going to enjoy it. So make sure those point down so the excess bolt and nut and everything is out the bottom. Now what you want to do is kind of get this thing kind of wrestled into place, and you want to make sure that the whatever spline you go ahead and lock this thing into, you lock it into the exact spline on the other side. You don't want one arm pointed down and one pointed up to each other. They need to be the exact same for the bar to work correctly. So Usually what I'll do is I'll go ahead, get one side on, I'll set the tape measure on the back side way back here, and I'll measure from there to the ground. That'll give me a rough idea of where we're at. I can go to the other side, measure, and we should be close. One notch higher, one notch low is a huge adjustment by the time you get all the way back here to where the tape measure is, so you can tweak it in real easy doing it like that. Let's go ahead and get this one arm on, and then we'll jump to the other side. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, sometimes these broaches are just a little bit tight, so what you want to do is get it ready to go, and then maybe grab your soft face hammer again, your mallet, and just kind of tap on the end and get it driven in. Let's do it. So now you can see we have the driver's side bar right here, kind of just really lightly pressed onto those splines. Passenger side is set all the way down into the spline. Now, we need to make sure the passenger side isn't pointed down or up compared to the driver's side. How are you going to do that? So, one method is to come way back here to the back side right there, furthest away from the bar itself, and you can take a tape measure, measure down to the ground, measure that one down to the ground, and you'll get a pretty damn close measurement. Another way to do it is grab one of these digital angle finders, and you can clip it right here on the back side. Take the number that you have here, go compare it to the other side, and make sure that it's the same. This way is a little bit more accurate, obviously, because you can, dial it right into the degree, a couple decimal places of a degree, where a tape measure is only as good as one, you are, and two, the ground is as level as that. So, our bars or arms are pretty damn close. We're less than half a degree out, so that's good enough for what we want to do. So what you're going to do is, if you were, say, 2 degrees out, take it out, go one more little notch, set it back in, keep going back and forth until you get it. Now, like I said, because we're good, we're going to grab our soft face hammer. We're going to tap on the end of this guy, we're going to drive it in, then we have a bolt and a big cap that's going to go on there to stop this from coming off, and then we're going to come back and we're going to cinch up this pinch bolt that is going to lock it down onto that spline. So now you know what we're doing, you know how we got here. Let's roll and wrap up this install. Alright, so we have this pinch bolt here, and what you want to do is torque that up to like 10 foot-pounds, and then just look in that slot. If I get out of the way here, maybe. There you go. Look in that slot right there, and you can see that the splines are kind of pulling down together. You want to make sure that they're not, pulling one spline out of the way or whatnot. You want to make sure that those teeth are kind of biting all the way down. So if you do that, go up another 5. Do that, go up another 5, do that, all the way up to 30 foot-pounds. Once you're at 30, those ones are done. We're going to tighten up these guys here, and what these ones do is stop this arm from coming off the end if something catastrophic was to happen and this bolt here was to break. Now, what I did was I Loctited that one, even though it has a lock washer, and this one here has a locking nut, so that one does not need Loctite. Now, all that being said, we're going to go back up here. I previously said to torque those to 51. I lied. It's only 40. So we're going to go back. We're going to make sure that these are torqued to 40, and then we're going to do our little paint marker on here so we know exactly where those are. We're going to do our paint marker on this one so we know where that is, and unfortunately I'm going to put a paint marker on this guy out here as well. The reason I'm going to do that is because in 500 miles you want to come back, make sure that all the bolts haven't moved or loosened or anything like that, and a real quick easy way to do it is if you have that paint mark. Now, the only thing left is we need to connect the rear of the sway bar back there down to the axle, and that comes with those super awesome looking Endlinks. So we're going to go grab those Endlinks, we're going to install one on this side, one on the back side, pump some grease into them, and we are done. Now, make sure when you put those Endlinks on that you are going to point the grease zerks to the front of the vehicle. That way you can get underneath here real quick, squirt squirt, throw a little bit of grease in every time you do an oil change, and you're off to the races. Now let's go through those Endlinks. I'll show you what you got to do before you come and install them to make sure they're properly adjusted. Let's roll. Alright, so to tell you all about these super awesome Endlinks here from the Carli kit, I need to go through these stock ones with you. Now, as you can see, this thing just has a little baby peg here in the middle, and then a ball joint here and a ball joint down there. And that allows this stud top and bottom to move as you see here. Now, this is pretty easy to move around, and that will cause some wear. So what you want to do is look at your new Carli one, and you want to try and press on this stud and see how it's very difficult for me to move that. That's what you want. Now let's go to this side. Very difficult to move. If this was super easy, what you do here is there is a set screw. Once you pull this dust cap off, there's a little set screw on this cap, and what you're going to do is loosen the set screw. You're going to tighten this thing up just so that you can hardly move this thing. You want it really hard by hand, but you do not want it flopping around, and you don't want it immobile either. So if that's the case, you're going to loosen that set screw. You're going to tighten up this little ring right here, and that's going to put some preload down on that ball, just like in this one here. So once you have these things really tight to move around by your hands, you can go ahead, tighten up the nut top and bottom, and then like I said before, make sure those two grease zerks are pointed forward so you have full access to get to those from the front of the vehicle. So after that, once that is installed, we are going to go ahead and back this sucker out and take it for a ride. So pretty excited, and yeah, let's get her done, because these things will look way better on the vehicle than sitting in the box. So we were able to get the sway bar Endlinks torqued. The only thing left is to throw a couple pumps for the grease in each of the 4 joints. Now, I did go ahead, let me swing you around here, and you can see I have my little paint marks. I did them on the inside, so hopefully you don't see them from the outside of the vehicle when you're looking at it. And then same thing for the brackets. I went way up inside where the bolt is up there, and put a little mark so you won't see it unless you're laying on the ground like I am now. So that being said, all that's left to do is throw a little bit of grease in, go for a test drive. Now, I already did bounce around on the sill plate there, so I know that the sway bar doesn't hit anything, the Endlinks don't hit anything, that kind of stuff, where it's going to drive the guy crazy with a little clunk here or there or whatever. So that about wraps up the install of this Carli sway bar and the Carli Endlinks for the 2017 Plus Super Duty. Now, I appreciate you guys getting this far in the video. I do apologize again for not having a ton of energy in this one. Like I said earlier, Tom, I love you, buddy, and yeah, I wish you weren't gone. Save me a spot up there, and I will catch you on the next video. Take it easy, guys. Get out in your shop, do stuff, and if you are having some bad thoughts, go ahead and call somebody. There's lots of people there for you. All right, catch ya.